Hello my fellow hunters. 2 weeks ago I thought about making a new sort of content for Monster Hunter in general, because for my personally opinion I thought that speedrunning is kinda unrewarding, because you need about 5 up to 10 hours preparation until you get a very decent run. And yes, after you've uploaded the run, the number of views is a lot less than any other tier lists or other video stuff. And also the most comments are just like, oh my gosh, it was all the charm, and if I had the same charm I got the same time. And yes, that was the reason I thought about changing the sort of content I'm doing. And if you have a YouTube channel with more than 1000 subscribers, you can do surveys. There are two sorts of surveys you can do. You can do surveys with only words, and there you can choose up to 5 possible answers where the subscribers can pick from. And you can also do surveys with pictures, but in this case you can only max choose 4 answers including pictures. So please don't be confused if there are some situations or some questions where there are not more than 4 possible answers which you can pick from. I was very surprised that my surveys got a lot of attention. I did 10 surveys, so the thing is, if I would, I can make just for every survey an entire video. And milk the cow, how good it is getting. But that was not I just want to see how this is going to be, and yes, how much attention this sort of content is going to be. And maybe later I reduce this amount of questions. Yes, I am asking or other stuff. Also another thing is that for a lot of questions I used stuff of Monster Hunter Frontier, which I am already a lot of players, like also Dog Hero and also Rage Gaming, playing Monster Hunter Frontier. A lot of famous people from the Monster Hunter community playing this game currently, and that's also why I included the stuff. And yes, please consider that it heavily depends on the subscribers of my community, which is going to be the solutions. So please take all the solutions which is kept with a grain of salt, because not every who answers this question played every single Monster Hunter game. I also personally, for my opinion, I played every game, but for example Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and Monster Hunter Tri Ultimate, I only played these games less than 100 hours, so I maybe didn't get the best experience of that game, so please keep that in mind. And also a lot of subscribers doesn't have played the older games, so maybe the choices with new game monsters get more votes, so please take that in consideration. And also not everyone is familiar with Monster Hunter Frontier, so if all these surveys are made on a channel who made Monster Hunter Frontier content, definitely the answers, which include some source stuff of Monster Hunter Frontier, they will definitely have a lot more percentage rates than on my channel. But I'm very thankful. Thanks for everyone who commented on my surveys. Thanks a lot of that. And I got on every single survey minimum about average 500 votes. So in general, for 10 surveys I got 5,000 votes, so thanks a lot of that. And also about a bunch of comments, so also thanks for everyone who commented. I'm starting with the video. I see this is going to be a more long video, but I'm starting with the video with I started first the survey and then continue to the newer ones and the previous days I made. I also included the deviation. That means if the deviation is very low, that means the hunter chooses are very relative competitive, and if the deviation is very high, it is very easy solution, so maybe only one answer is picked very often and the other 3 are less picked. Okay, that was kinda bad English, but okay, let's going to continue with the stuff. Yes, thanks for voting, and let's have a look into the surveys. I would also say thanks a lot to the Monster Hunter Wiki. I'm going to grab a lot of information from this website, and also thanks to all channels who provided me the gameplay I'm using for this video. I'm not explaining every single choice, otherwise this video will take about more than an hour. I'm just trying to explain the most picks answers or the less picks answers and why that's the case. So we are just starting with our first survey. We did 13 days ago with 356 votes, and the question was pick your favorite super boss. So it's not really a super boss, it is just a supreme monster, also called, and there are like 3 gods in the Monster Hunter universe, and 2 of them were already in the second generations. The first was Akantor and Ukanlos. Akantor is the black god, located, symbolizes the lava and the volcano, and the white god is ukanlos for, yes, the ice. And there is also a third god, and it is called Odibatorasu, and it is from Monster Hunter Frontier. This is I don't know whether it's a color, but it's called like a god of the sand or anything similar. So all these 3 monsters are turtles, and there is a meme in the Frontier community about Odibatorasu. It's called like Gigantamax Blastoise, because Odibatorasu is very, very similar to Blastoise, but instead of water, just with sand, because on its back it has a cannon, and that's the reason why he is compared to this Pokemon. So first of all, to the choices. So Akantor has, with 66% of the votes, won this survey with a huge difference to the other solutions, which is ukanlos and odibatorasu. But at this survey I was very, very surprised, because ukanlos and odi has absolute god tier themes, and also odi is like the flagship monster of Monster Hunter Frontier Forward, and I think it's the top 5 popular monster of Monster Hunter Frontier. And also very surprising was that odi only got 10% votes and ukanlos 24% votes. The thing is, odi shares the moveset of ukanlos and Akantor. For example, odi got the sprint move from Akantor, and it got, for example, the dive move where it swims beyond the ground from ukanlos, and also the shovel attacks and other stuff. So Odibatorasu has moves from ukanlos and Akantor both, and more like, but it is more similar to ukanlos. But on top of the ukanlos moveset, it also has cannon, and yes, it has attacks where sandballs came out of his cannon, which is on the back of him. So I was very, very surprised that odi only got 10% votes, and because yes, the theme is absolute god tier, and I think it just the reason is why maybe only a few of my subscribers actually played Frontier, and I think if more played this game, they would also pick odi as answer solution. But maybe I can make the same survey 2 years later, when maybe more subscribers played Frontier, and then I am sure more are voting for odi. I also want to talk a little bit about the monster a little bit more. For example, for Akantor. Akantor is a massive wedge-snapping turtle-like wyvern that dwells in magma. Akantors are covered with massive reddish-black spikes and durable shells, and have both large sharp claws on their legs, but also a similar structure on its tail. The Akantor's most distinctive feature aside from its fearsome spikes or the pair of dreadful tusks on his head. The tusks are both nearly as strong as the entirety of the head. The underside of the akantor is much tanner color than the rest of its body, and it's comparatively lacking in dangerous protrusions. Akantor are so powerful they can have extremely negative effects on the environment they reside in. Predator and prey flee from akantors, and only the largest wyverns and elder dragons even dare challenge them. With their immense physical strength, numerous body spines, enormous tusks, and powerful roars, akantors are extremely deadly foes. If all that weren't enough, produced inside akantor's mouth, it is a highly corrosive fluid meant to break down the defense of prey, and with its exceptionally loud roars, akantors can create a short sonic beam tainted with the dragon element, powerful enough to shoot down airships flying by. So yes, very interesting. All the three monsters can't really fly, but they are classified as flying wyverns instead of elder dragons. And yes, I'm also very surprised they didn't have a special like god tier classification. Now a little bit more information about ukanlos. Ukanlos closely resembles akantor and odi in body structure and possesses the same quadrupedal gait. It has a silvery white carapace which features a row of large checked fins along its back. It has a small compact face which features glowing yellow eyes, sharp teeth, and a massive shovel-like chin. Its massive, serrated shovel-like chin allows it to fling up large chunks of ice and to dig into frozen icy surface. Once underground, the row of large razor-sharp fins running along its spine help it to cut through the ice while swimming. This swimming can also cause large chunks of ice to be sent flying. It can produce a devastating ice beam from its mouth, and it's known to use its heavy body weight to crush opponents. Despite its great size and weight, ukanlos is known to be able to leap significant distances by slamming its massive tail on the ground to propel it forward. Yes, so sorry for the bad English. I just grabbed them from the Monster Hunter Wiki because my natural language is German, and yes, I am just familiar with the skill translations, weapon translations, and not the behavior and translations, so I'm using the wiki explanations for that. Now a little bit of explanation about odibatorasu. Odi is a hulking flightless wyvern, structurally similar to akantor or ukanlos. Its body is mainly a shade of red with numerous cream-colored tips and highlights, and more grayish undersides. It has a relatively flat face with very small pair of green eyes with round pupils, a large mouth with an accurate shaped tongue, and the mouth is lined with single rows of numerous small blunt teeth. On the top of the head there are two blunt horns above the eyes, and one pointy horn behind the nose. Odi is capable of taking large quantities of sand and expelling it as a means of attacking. It can fire a steady stream and sand from its mouth, or launch more condensed projectiles from large circular openings on the top half of its shell. Odi cannot fly, but it does excel quite well at digging, in addition to having heavy physical strength typical of monster its size. So as far as I know, the weapons of akantor are not really the best. They have horrible sharpness, but huge amount of raw, bad affinity. None of the monsters, I think they doesn't really have meta gear, but yes, ukanlos for the survey results has the most votes by far. The next question was about your favorite elder dragon which controls water element. I have chosen Amatsu, ceadeus, Shantye, namielle. There is no other fifth elder dragon which also can control the water element except Alatreon, but I didn't really choose Alatreon because it controls element and it's not very big part of the monster. Shantye controls 3 elements. It also controls thunder and the third element, but it is not really the best replacing monster that shows water element. It has some moves that does like water beams or water bubbles, but in my opinion it isn't the best monster to represent the water elder dragon, and yes, that's also the reason why it only got 4%. It is a frontier monster. ceadeus is I think 3rd gen. There's also Goldbeard, ceadeus, Amatsu, and namielle. Namielle got by far the most picks for a water elder dragon, and Amatsu, and yes, I'm with it. So yes, namielle by far the best vote, so I give you a short explanation about namielle. Namielle is a seemingly passive monster and only fights when provoked. It has the power to generate, absorb and manipulate water at will. When in danger, it will electrify its body and use the tips of its wings to touch patches of water and make them explode violently into steam. Namielle also has the power to float and fly without beating its wings, soaring through the sky similar to a manta ray. Yes, this monster got first introduced in Monster Hunter World Iceborne and also has an arched temperate version which gives a one-shot KO when it, when there's water on the ground. The monster flies up and does like a dive bomb move, or yes, it spread its tentacles out and it electrify the ground and you get one shot if you're not out of the area. Yes, so I'm with the choice. The next survey was about Nargacuga. The best monster of the Nargacuga tree. I didn't include monsters from Monster Hunter Explore because it is really part of the main series, but I would say like Frontier is a hybrid main series part because they used a lot of Frontier elements into the main series. One example is the followers. So followers were already in Monster Hunter Frontiers, but they are just called Rastas instead of followers. And yes, that's one example they had already in Frontier and they were just put better in the main series. Yes, it was about the Narga. That was quite interesting. Green Nargacuga only got 2% of the votes, and so I give you a short explanation about Green Nargacuga. When it raged, it can perform a tail slam, the jump and smash again in an attempt to hit the hunter. Like the regular smash, it leaves it vulnerable while it tries to pry its tail free. Its tail slam is guaranteed to stun a hunter if it connects, making it particularly dangerous. So it doesn't really have a very outstanding moveset, and that's maybe the reason why it doesn't really get that attention, and also is represented in other main series parts outstanding of Monster Hunter Portable Third. Yes, also for 18% we have Blinking Nargacuga from Monster Hunter Frontier, where also Ragegaming and so does gameplay, which is very cool. Blinking Nargacuga is very similar to regular Nargacuga when it comes to movement during battle, but with added effects to increase the lethality. For example, the teleportation attack common to 3 rank Nargacuga is increased both in its radius and damage. Another move that has been enhanced is one in which it will shoot out spikes that will rain down from the sky shortly afterward being fired. Instead of small patches, a whole field of these poisonous spikes will come down, covering a huge area. However, its most prominent change is a new ability to create blades of wind that will suck in hunters like a vacuum before shredding them. So very interesting moveset. Really like that, very dangerous monster. And I'm also now going to talk a little about the lucent Nargacuga, which won by far these votes, and maybe also the reason is because maybe about more than 3,000 subscribers from me I got only through Sunbreak or Monster Hunter Rise in general, and that monster got its comeback in Monster Hunter Sunbreak. Lucent Nargacuga has the ability to turn invisible and perform a double tail slam like its green relative. It can also extend its spikes by shaking its tail even when not enraged. While in this mode, all of its tail attacks cause venomous spikes to fly out. Also, it has the Form Lone Arena where it's represented. And yes, we also have Silverwind Nargacuga represented in Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is by far one of the best monsters you could get in Monster Hunter Stories 2. Also the reason maybe why it got a very high percentage out of the votes. For the next vote, it was about the Tigrex tree. Best monsters of the Tigrex tree. This is the most discussed and most controversial survey of all I did, because all the answers are very similar and quite interesting. Molten Tigrex won this survey. I can't really explain why, because I think like the comment says, it is like from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which I didn't play the most time. I played Generations Ultimate and also Frontier, and I really like Grimclaw Tigrex and also diorekkusu. But I can't really explain, but maybe someone other can explain in the comments why Molten Tigrex got that high amount of votes. So I added some short explanations to diorekkusu. Diorekkusu has organs located throughout its body that generate electricity, allowing it to magnetize bits of ore to themselves as armor, release waves of static with a swipe of its claws or tail, charging up ore-filled boulders. They throw or manipulate the environment by creating ledges to jump on, so it can leap at hunters or create levitating platforms for it to jump on and crush, sending rubble raining down on those below. It is also able to breath a sweeping electricity beam, and it retains the damaging roars of its cousins. So very badass looking monster. Replaces for electric element. Also for Grimclaw Tigrex, I just remember Grimclaw Tigrex has absolute raw meta weapons, and also the hunting horn was busted. It has attack up and earplugs up, which is a very rare combination for hunting horn, and yes, a lot of meta weapons, maybe also therefore the high amount of votes. And also for Molten Tigrex got by far the most votes. I think it's because it has like different enrage states. So let's talk about a little bit about the Molten Tigrex. Molten Tigrex is capable of creating explosive blasts while charging, spinning and biting. In addition, its attacks can leave a target with an explosive powder that will explode over time. Interestingly, this species of Tigrex appears to have two rage modes. In the first enraged state, the veins of its head, forelegs and tail will become bright red and its speed will increase. Also, it will be able to use the Brute Tigrex devastating stampede attack. In the second enraged state, it will start by using the Brute Tigrex explosive roar, and its eyes will turn red. Veins on the wings, back legs, chest and tail base will also become visible. It can also know, in combination with its attacks, spread explosive powder clouds and use the super roar in succession, as well as the lunge spin attack. So this monster won the survey, won Tigrex. I maybe try to later force that monster again in my For You save. Yes, the next survey got by far the most votes. It is the best monster of the Diablos tree. Monoblos is also like in the Diablos tree. They are sharing, but they are sharing not the same subtree. They have the same main tree, but not the same subtree. And yes, I also included Apex Diablos, so for whatever reason, just to fill out the gaps. And I first wasn't unsure to include Black Diablos, because Black Diablos and Diablos are just the same level, because Black Diablos is just same as Diablos, but it's just female. So to be honest, it's not really correct to include Black Diablos here, because it's from the main tree. But okay, I nevertheless included it, and it got a few percentage rates. But by far, bloodbath Diablos wins the vote. Unfortunately, varusaburosu only got 20%, but like I explained, maybe if it later got explained into the main series, it got a little bit more votes, because it's also changing its colors depending on the rage state it has. And when it's enraged, it got like white glowing horns and white glowing wingtips, which looks absolutely awesome. And first of all, I talk a little about varusaburosu, and later about the bloodbath Diablos. Varusaburosu resemble their relatives with the Diablos, with a numerous difference of varying size. They sport dark red bodies with some dark purple highlights and more segmented texturing. Their horns sprawl further back on the head and have a more heavy curve. They have 5 fingers instead of 6 with pitch black claws, a few upward curved spikes on the back of the legs, tail rods of hooked spikes lining the edges of their wings, and lack the small spikes on their tail club and large black blade. They are typically seen with their wing membranes having a fiery red, orange and yellow pattern with orange-yellow patterns strewn throughout the upper body and a bit of the legs, with flames spewing from the horns, tail club and back plate. After consuming a unique type of cacti, the flames and patterns will change to a mix of light purple, light blue and white. Varusaburosu possesses great speed and strength, utilizing their powerful legs, tail clubs and horns to trample, smash and skewer those in their paths. They can also utilize their abilities with their environment by causing small eruptions with stomps and tail stamps, or digging up and lobbing boulders using their horns. They are capable of digging to chase down and attack from below with their weight and horns. They also appear to be lighter than their relatives, as they are capable of more consistent and quick fights. But the most notable ability they possess is their fire abilities. The main food for Varusaburosu is a unique type of volcanic cacti, which grows a fruit that upon consumption is proceeded to a fuel production of a gas within their bodies, which ignites up and exploded to the air, creating the flame jets that spray from various points around their bodies, which they can use to lay trails of flames all over the ground or even spray streams of fire from their horns. Yes, and by far the most votes got Bloodbath Diablos, first in the trios, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, with all the new deviants like we already talked about, grimclaw Tigrex, so it's a Mikrosune, Nightcrawler malfestio. Yeah, so about Bloodbath Diablos. After one of its horn were broken off, a new but severely warped horn grew in its place, while its other horn grew to a massive size. Bloodbath Diablos also has bluish blood covering parts of its body, including its face, wings and tail. Compared to a normal Diablos, Bloodbath Diablos has more physical strength and fights are more aggressively. Despite its large frame, it can turn and chair and charge at a foe with incredible speed and devastate any unprepared opponents. When enraged, red flame-shaped veins will appear on some portions of its individual body. However, it has another enraged state beyond its first one. When greatly enraged, Bloodbath Diablos' secreted body fluids will begin to evaporate due to its intense body temperature, causing some steam to spread off its body. The evaporation of the body fluids causes a steam explosion, which can easily push off foes that are near it. When like this, it can also change directions during a charge without stopping. So it's known as one of the most aggressive monsters in the series, in the main series. Yeah, and won by far the survey with 64% of the votes, and I think that's the highest percentage of all votes, yes, that can be claimed. Yes, another question survey was about the frontier small monsters. So this survey only got about 300 votes, and the reason was maybe yes, the most doesn't really play frontier, and so they didn't want to vote. But yeah, Pokara won by far this this survey, and there is also a large version of this monster. There are like 2 different forms of Pokara. One are more white and the other are more like grayish. And yes, the big version of them is the Pokaradon, which is a very, very strong monster. You can only first face in G rank. And yes, that's like a big seal. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Pokara. Pokara are mammalian leviathans with resemblance to walruses. They feature fluked tails and rigid looks back. The adult females or the adolescent males features mixes with white and gray fur with accompanying spot and stripe patterns. They also have 2 tusks that curve slightly forward, 2 horns sprouting near the back of their heads, a sort of blobbly dorsal fin on their backs, and small spines on their legs, along with 2 sprouting on either side of the tails, close to the flukes, with another spike coming from between the flukes. The young are mostly white, with only a light blue streak running from their heads and along their back, and dark gray tips on their tail flukes. They also lack tusks and spines, spar one from between the flukes, and have 6 horns, the middle one of each set being larger than the rest. The female pokara are aggressive towards intruders of their territory. However, they greatly rely on their adult male counterparts, the pokaradon, which I mentioned before, for protection against larger threats such as, other frontier monsters. There's a lot of more text about them, but I didn't want to, explain all the behavior and all that other stuff. They have a little bit odd sounds, but yes, I really miss them, and they should definitely need to come back into the main series, because they are really fluffy and have different versions depending on whether it's male or female. Yes, now to the survey number 7, which was about only exclusive 5th gen survey. There are a bunch of monsters that can be faced in the Coral Highlands in Monster Hunter World. But 4 of them, which are shown in the survey, can only be found in the Coral Highlands or the Gelding Lands. So the 4 ones are Coral Pukei, Paolomo, Tzitziyaku, and Namielle. So very easy to say. Paolomo and Tzitziyaku barely get any votes. I like that Paolomo get a few votes because I really like the weapon designs, and that's maybe also the reason why they picked Paolomo, because they have really fluffy weapons, and that's also the reason why this monster is kind of popular. And yes, Coral Pukei and Namielle are Monster Hunter Iceborne exclusive monsters currently, and they got the most votes by far. Namielle 65% won the next survey, which represents the Coral Highlands. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Coral Pukei and Namielle. While the Pukei utilizes poison, the Coral Pukei is a subspecies and uses water as its main element of attack. Coral Pukei is able to store high concentrations of water on its tail by drinking the sponge-like plants that line the Coral Highlands. By doing this, it is then able to shoot out jets of high-pressured water beams at hunters. And I like the Coral Pukei version a lot more than the general, because poison is very annoying, and for water blight isn't really the problem. You can just get blight resistance or get some nullberries and out of problem, not annoying as poisoned when you lose all the time health and similar stuff. Yes, for Namielle is an elder dragon that has aspects of manta rays, deep sea fish, and jellyfish. Its massive wings are colored black on top and light blue on the underside, with rainbow luminescence that pulses constantly. Its head is red and blue with the same pulsing luminescence, but when drained of its water and dried out, it has a milky tan coloring that affects both of its body and the underside of its wings. It also has multiple long whiskers in the lower jaw, which is really funny. So Namielle won the survey. Now to the 8th survey, where I ask for the best alpha raptor. In the comments, some users ask why I didn't include the Great Maccao into the survey, but Great Maccao isn't the alpha raptor. So I try to make another survey where I can include him. There are 4 alpha raptors, which is Gandrome, represents the desert, or as found only in the desert, with which is paralyzing element. The Gaiadrome, which can found on the ice maps. Yes, which controls ice element and can you also make, we are later talking about, ailment, which is called snowman. Also Iodrome can be found in the volcano, and velocidrome won by far this survey, which I got very surprised for, because yes, Gaiadrome is also very funny because you can get the snowman state. But for whatever reason, velocidrome won this survey by far, so I'm gonna explain a little bit about. Nothing very special, but maybe the reason why velocidrome won this survey is it seems that velocidrome is the strongest monster of those 4 alpha raptors. And for that reason, in the Monster Hunter Frontier Season 10, they introduced the HC velocidrome, which is called Hardcore velocidrome, which has improved attacks and a new look, making it the most powerful of the drones in the series. Aesthetic differences include red eye, hooked beak, different shaped crest, and drooling when in rage mode. New attacks include a spinning bite followed by a tail whip, a side-to-side jumping, body tackle, and a super jumping that causes small dust covers as small rocks popping up, showing it breaking the ground as it jumps. That was the moveset of Frontier, the H hardcore version. And yes, this monster has a large big red crest over its blue hide, and this signifies to other Velocidrome race that is fit to be their leader. So that's the reason you can see here the red crest, which is different to the other raptors, shows that it is the alpha raptor. Yes, by far the most votes, very surprisingly. Now to the 9th survey, which was about dog wyverns. Before I made this survey, I didn't knew ever there is a species or a category called dog wyverns. But yes, there are 4 monsters categorized under the category called Dog Wyvern, which is Great Baggy, Great Jaggy, Great Froggy, and Great Maccao. Great Isuchi isn't classified as Dog Wyvern, so he isn't included in this survey. This survey won Great Chuggy and Maccao. Also, I think Chuggy has is like a meme in the Twitter community, and Great Maccao has a absolute great theme and is also a very funny monster. Great Maccao's feathered crest sets them apart from its maccao pack. Although superficially similar to its younger brethren, Great Maccao is bigger and bulkier with more brightly colored plumage. It also has a powerful legs. It uses to kick threats and to move with great speed, and its spiked tail allows to propel itself toward and jump with tremendous force. Great Maccao has powerful legs. It uses to kick threats and move with great speed. It can stand on its tail and launch itself forward. Should its tail be damaged, it will be heavily restricted due to relying on its tail for offense and movement. So congratulations to Great Maccao, which also need a comeback, because yes, it is a monster with long abstinence and it fits very well in the also Monster Hunter World Big Forest map. And now to the last survey. I have to exclude a lot of status ailments, so I'm trying just to pick up status ailments which are very outstanding and are very special, not boring like deadly poison or other stuff. So there are some other status elements like Resident Evil zombie status and other stuff, but I think I maybe include them in another survey exclusive for Monster Hunter 5th Gen states like miasma, yes, and zombie fight. For this vote, I also include fatigue. So there is the bone monster Nargacuga from Monster Hunter Generations, which gives you 2 different states where we have like bones around you, and that make you exhausting and prevents evading or makes it more difficult. There's also another state called turret, which is exclusive currently for Monster Hunter for Ultimate. You got it from the oil attacks or the oil beam laser from Gogmazios. And yes, that get also 13% of the votes. There's also, like I mentioned before, the snowman state, which also makes your impossible to consumize items except you have the cleanser. And yes, it makes you unable to attack, evade, makes movement very difficult, but it's like very funny, and very early monsters have the ability to inflict snowman. And I fully agree with that Confusion got by far the most votes. And yes, this is exclusive. The Confusion ailment is exclusive to malfestio, and it's very, very funny to play. I already played it in a stream, Monster Generations Ultimate stream, and it inverts your entire I don't know what is the translation into English, where your buttons are, how it's called, the steering or the controls. I don't know what's the English translation. It fully inverts them, and you didn't really had a chance, so there isn't not really an item that can instantly heal you from that. And it is really fun to play. I think for the normal malfestio it is a lot of fun, because he doesn't deal you too much damage, but for Night Cloak malfestio, and you have the confusion state, is very, very dangerous, and it is more annoying than funny. So for general malfestio it's a lot of fun, yes, because it inverts your entire steering, and it's a lot of fun to play. And yes, in the low rank especially, but yes, later if the monster gets more harder and have stronger attacks, it's more annoying than funny. But it is a very outstanding set, and I'm very glad it got about 56% of the votes. So yes, that's all the 10 votes. You can write in the comment section down below if I explained too much of this stuff, and I'm gonna see how much attention this video got. If it got a lot more than 2,000 views or so, I definitely keep up this series. Otherwise, if it only get watched by a few persons, I didn't really continue the series. Yes, because it's not really worth the time. And also thanks to everyone who voted on the survey, who commented, who subscribed me. Unfortunately, only subscribers can take part of the votes. And I hope you enjoyed the series, and I hope I can make some new episodes. So thanks for watching. See you next time, guys.